Welcome to the Delmarva Almanac. Each week we connect you to the best of Delmarva. Now here's naturalist Dave Wilson with part 2 of his series of 3 on the study of invasive plants and their impact on our region.
In the studio, we are lucky to have Curry Kai, the invasive plant ecologist with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. She is responsible for invasive plant assessment and control on some 475,000 acres of state land. She is chair of the Maryland Invasive Plant Advisory Committee. I want to start today by asking which species are the most concerned to the state, and are there certain ones that you see as the most insidious?
That is actually a difficult question. We tend not to approach invasive plant species management on a species basis. We approach it on an area basis or a habitat basis. And there's a complement of species that invade particular habitats. So I'm very rarely looking for one individual species that I'm going to work on. That being said, I will say that I would guess that wavy leaf basket grass is the species that I'm most concerned about right now, primarily because it is so new. Wavy leaf basket grass is a forest grass. It's perennial. It is stoloniferous, which means it has stolons, which are stems that lie down along the ground and root at the tips or root at the nodes, which means it spreads vegetatively as well as making seed. It also has an amazing long-distance dispersal mechanism. The seeds, the awns, which are bristles on the ends of the seeds, get sticky, and in the fall, anything that walks through patches of wavy leaf basket grass can pull the seeds off the plant, where they stick for as long as months and then drop off in brand new places. So wavy leaf basket grass has only been documented in Maryland and Virginia, which means that without being able to control it, we are afraid it could spread through the entire eastern part of the United States.
Could you talk a little bit about Maryland's new invasive plant law?
In 2011, the state legislature passed a law called the Maryland Invasive Plant Prevention and Control Act. It's part of the Maryland Department of Agriculture law, and it did 2 essential things. It formed what's called the Invasive Plant Advisory Committee, which is a group of 11 people who advise the Secretary of Agriculture on primarily ornamental plants, things that have come in through horticultural channels and their invasivity. And the second thing it did was to give the IPAC, that's what we call the group, 2 tasks. One was to choose a risk assessment protocol, and the second was to use that protocol to do risk assessment on a whole suite of potentially invasive plants. So we take the probability from the risk assessment that something is going to be a problem species, and we assign it a tier ranking, either tier 1 or tier 2. Tier 1 plants will be banned in the state, no longer able to be sold, transported, produced, introduced, transferred. The only thing that's not illegal about a tier 1 plant is to actually have it. So if you've already got it in your yard, it's not illegal.
Tell us any of the plants that you know of that are going to be on that list.
You bet. There are 6 species right now. The tier 1 plants, that is the ones that will be banned. And I didn't tell you yet what happens to tier 2 plants. But tier 1 plants, there's one that doesn't exist at all in the state right now. It's called shining geranium, Geranium lucidum. It's a huge problem in Pacific Northwest forests, and it is a plant in the trade, but it's not currently sold in Maryland. And by making it a tier 1 plant, we keep it out. That's what this law is meant to do, is to prevent. The other 2 Tier 1 plants are fig buttercup, Ficaria verna, which is that bright yellow flower that you see all over floodplains, especially forested floodplains, very early in the spring. In the next several weeks, it'll be in bloom. And the third is yellow flag iris, Iris psittacris, which is still sold in the state, not widely sold. Many of our Maryland aquatic plant dealers have given it up because they already realize that it's a problem species. But that has been shown, has been documented in the same habitats as some of our rare wetland plants, freshwater wetland plants. And so we got it. Tier 2 plants. Tier 2 plants will still be able to be sold, but with very clear, bright yellow signage right next to the displays that indicate that this is a problem species. There's a QR code on the sign that encourages a plant buyer to check out more information, and that will take you to the regulations and the information on MDA's website. And it suggests that you consider alternative plants. What we expect and hope that will happen with Tier 2 plants is that the educated public will understand that these are less desirable species, and eventually the demand for those species will dry up, and people will have no incentive to sell them because they can't make any money because nobody wants them.
We've been talking to Curry Kide, the invasive plant ecologist with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. Next time, we'll talk about how volunteers can get involved to help the state document and control invasive plants in Maryland. For more information on invasive plants on Delmarva and related links, visit us at delmarvaalmanac.com/nature.
Well, that's all for this edition of the Delmarva Almanac. Be sure to follow us on Facebook or Twitter, and next week join us to learn more about our local culture and get connected to our natural wonders. If you'd like to become an underwriter for this program, visit delmarvaalmanac.com/support. We'd like to thank our community partners, the Friends of Delmarva Public Radio, the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, and underwriters eatdrinkbuyart.com for their help in bringing this program to you, our audience. Our theme music was provided by Brightside Studio. This show has been a Moonshell production. Thanks for listening. Until we meet again, may the rhythms and tides of Delmarva bring you good fortune.